Welcome to the 2017 installment of our Football Officials video training series. We're studying the National Federation of High School Rules, 5-Man Mechanics. This video is produced by the Arkansas Association of High School Officials. Visit our website at aahso.com. We're helping good officials get better. Technical assistance provided by Dax Hill, Greg Dowlam, and George Demetrio. Our video director is Matt Bivens, assisted by Chuck Scott. Produced by Kenny Sanders. Executive producers Walt Coleman. I'm your host, Todd Allen. I know you want to be a better football official every week when you step on the field, and rules knowledge is the foundation of any good official. But the rule book can be overly technical, dry, and boring. It's just hard to stay focused. I personally recommend the Reading Study Guide for the NFHS rules. Its easy reading style are both informative and fun. The general overviews, in-depth discussions, and quizzes give a great practical application of the rules. I've taught football officiating to hundreds of officials, but I never hesitate to recommend the Reading Study Guide to the NFHS rules. When you're through learning, you're through. I'm going to start this week off with a kick play, and these are tough plays. We've talked about this a number of times. We've got 22 guys spread out across the field. We start 40, 50, 60 yards apart and 53 yards wide, and these are just tough plays. So take a look at this kick, and right up the gut we go. And the thing that I want to point out to here is the most important thing is recognizing players that are in chase mode and working in your area, even when it doesn't seem like potential threats are in your area. So as this play goes right up the middle here, the first block happens right here. These are right at the point of attack. And I say the first block, the first critical block here where we have a block in the back. And you've just got to recognize these players are in chase mode. And we've talked about chase mode a number of times, but just a quick reminder, that's just basically approaching the player from the back side. If you just draw a line through his shoulders. If you're approaching from behind him, you are in chase mode. And when a player approaches from chase mode, there can be absolutely no contact in the back. So all the contact has to be in the front and the side. And this play clearly in chase mode, as we can identify from this frame shot. And then we have just this block in the back. This is clearly a foul, something we got to call. But the play keeps going here, and as I stop, let me just stop the frame here and notice this wide open spot. What makes a good official great is when he can recognize the potential for foul and transition rapidly. And the assessments for these possible fouls can occur multiple times within just a second or two. And that's what's clear on these kick plays. That's why it's so important that you identify the area that you're going to officiate and that you're strong in your area. So one of the things that ought to jump out at you is this player right here, because he's just so far away from everyone else, and he's going to have to close in from chase mode. I think this could possibly open up to the back judge, certainly could open up to the head linesman. Referee might have a shot at this, but I think that's a stretch. So as we watch this play just develop here, this is right at the point of attack as the ball carrier's right here, and this is just another block in the back, and this springs the runner for a touchdown. So what we got here is two misses for blocks in the back and this big run for a touchdown. Got an end zone shot too, which gives you a good look at these plays too, but these are just tough fouls, and we've got to get these illegal blocks in the back. Kick plays are tough. Work in your zone, recognize potential threats, and then keep moving. A couple of plays here to look at. These both involve offensive holding. Let's take a look at the center here. And a slight double team as he starts out, and then this big nose tackle gets to the outside as the ball goes to the outside. And as the defender gets out, they just don't let him go. This center just holds on too long, twists the shoulders, and opens right up to the referee here. Although this is the umpire's key, good pickup by the referee here. This is offensive holding. And the things that you want to look at when you see these potential holds, the technique is the first thing that drives you out. The feet are beat, hands are the outside, the offensive player. But what we got to have after these elements are in place is a material restriction. And no nose guard with this kind of athletic ability runs in this manner. So, I mean, that's clearly a material restriction occurring there, and this is considered at the point of attack. So this is a good call for offensive holding. Next play involving the slot receiver here at the top of the screen. And as we get to the outside again, and here's another play where he just doesn't let go and twists the shoulder of the defensive player. The end zone shot here comes a little bit late to this, but the shoulders get rotated and feet get tangled up and he goes down. When a player like this is running to the outside, just any rotation of the top of the body here can cause this action that creates this player going to the ground. This is clearly a material restriction and an offensive hold. Correctly called, both of these plays offensive holding in this game. Let's take a look at this play here. And now what we've got, just a little post route here for the wide out and incomplete pass. But what we do have is a flag down called here by the wing official for defensive pass interference. And what I'd like to challenge you on this play here is we got two looks at it in the end zone shot as well. And this is his key, but what did the back judge see? Is there some other angle where we're looking at this play and come up with something different? And then for you wing officials, if you thought this was pass interference, what category would you put it in? And when we talk about categories, we're talking about there's basically 6 categories of defensive pass interference. Now, actions that constitute defensive pass interference include but are not limited to these following 6 categories. Number 1, early contact by a defender who's not playing the ball is defensive pass interference, provided the other requirements for DPI have been met. Playing through the back of a receiver in an attempt to make a play on the ball. Grab and restrict of a receiver's arm or body in such a manner that restricts his opportunity to catch a pass. An arm bar or extending the arm across the body of the receiver, thus restricting his ability to catch a pass, regardless of the fact of whether or not the defender is looking for the ball. Cutting off or riding the receiver out of the path of the ball by making contact him without playing the ball. Hooking and restricting a receiver in an attempt to get to a ball in such a manner that causes the receiver's body to turn prior to the ball arriving. These 6 categories are really important for a couple of reasons. 1, it gives a specific action to look for. And it will teach you, if you put defensive pass interference fouls in one of these 6 categories, it will really teach you to see the fouls in much more detail. Another thing that you need to learn is the battle between the field versus the film. And when I talk about field versus the film, these actions by the players look much bigger when you're on the field live. But that's not how anybody evaluates a game. You evaluate a game based on the video. So you've got to learn to adapt your officiating so that fouls that you call on the field show up on tape. So they really got to be much bigger than they look on the field. So this action, although on the field it looks like a foul, in this video it's not there. There's nothing there that looks like defensive pass interference, at least nothing that you can put in one of these 6 categories. So if you cannot put the action in one of these 6 categories, leave it alone. It's not a foul. Let's look at this play. Goal line threatened as quarterback drops back in, and this receiver just on a post route, and you can see the defender has pretty good inside position. And from the wide shot, just not much there, but you see 2 flags get thrown. We look down the end zone shot. Here you can see the defender has the right to the inside position. What category would you put this on if you call defensive pass interference? Which of those 6 categories does it fit into? It's not a cutoff. The defender doesn't run into the receiver's route. He's running side by side with the receiver. It's not an arm bar. He doesn't put his arm across the body and restrict the movement. It's no grab and restrict. The reality is that none of the action in this play meets any of the criteria for any of the 6 categories of pass interference. This is a great no call. This is just pretty good defense and doesn't cut him off from the route, doesn't restrict his movement, just has a great inside position. He's not looking for the ball. So, that certainly jumps right out to you as the potential for defensive pass interference is here. It's just his actions don't rise to the level. This is an incorrect call for defensive pass interference. Stick with this game here in another pass play. These are just tough. And just quick slant in the inside here for an apparent touchdown. Everybody in the stands thinks, at least behind the end zone, thinks it's a touchdown. And this is a tough play. And you think that I'm going to have these plays where I'm going to give you some great advice on how to solve all the problems, but I can't always do that. For the back judge and line of scrimmage, really, really tough play. So what I'm going to offer on this play is for the umpires. You've got to be situationally aware of what's going on. And these passes that come over the middle really quick, especially in this short field, but really any time, because the potential for a foul is gone when the ball is gone. We wouldn't want offensive holding called anyway. So when we have these short passes over the middle, as soon as the ball comes by you, you just got to spin and get a good look at this play, because when we slow this thing down and look at this particular spot right here, look where the ball is. And I'll point to the ball here. And the only person that has a shot at seeing this is the umpire. I think this is going to be hidden from the back judge, and I think it's going to be hidden from both line of scrimmage officials. Just a really, really tough play. So I think our only shot is the umpire whipping around really fast and helping with these balls over the middle. And I think if we could get this one and see this ball on the ground, we could rule this one incomplete. This is an incomplete pass that we're unable to get the view that we need, and we incorrectly call this a touchdown. One more note for the back judge here highlighted. Okay, if you need to come in and try to determine possession, I'm fine with you crashing in and looking for the ball. But once you locate the ball and make a determination, you need to stop, stand perfectly still, and signal touchdown. This walking while signaling touchdown is not the mechanic that we want to use. Let's take a look at one more pass play. And this down the sideline on just a go route, and good vertical movement here by the line judge, and we get good coverage on this play. And a tight play on the sideline, and we end up with an interception. One thing that I want to point out here, well, there's a couple of things I want to point out here. First of all, line judge, as you're moving down the sideline, the players go out of bounds. And there's some indecisiveness here as we don't know what we've got. It's a mystery to us because the ball is on the back side of this play and we can't see it. But what I want to point out here is the elapsed time that runs off the clock here while we're running down the sideline, but the players are already out of bounds. So as soon as these players get into the out of bounds area, something touches out of bounds, begin to kill the clock there. Not wait until you're closer to the action. So let me just back this up, and we'll just follow these players out of bounds. We see something touch out of bounds, and this is the point right here, and I'll just stop it, where we want to start cutting the clock. And as we see as I roll this thing forward a little bit longer, we probably get a second or a second and a half, maybe even 2 seconds here, that time runs off the clock before we indicate to kill the clock signal. This could be critical at the end of the game. So we want to make sure that we get into the mechanic, the habit of correctly stopping the clock at the instant something touches out of bounds. No matter where we are, we can stop the clock, and at the end of this play, we do correctly stop the clock, and we're still moving into position. So that's fine, and that's what we want to do. And this is just the polar opposite of the mechanic that we talked about on the touchdown play, where we said we want to be still and signaling touchdown. Exactly the polar opposite on this play. We want to be killing the clock while we're moving in to figure out what happened. Because no matter what happens on this play, the kill the clock mechanic is correct. If the receiver catches this ball, he's out of bounds, we're going to be stopping the clock. If it's an interception, players are out of bounds, change of possession, we're going to be stopping the clock. If it's incomplete, we're going to be stopping the clock. So no matter what happens here, stop the clock's the correct mechanic, and let's don't lose this 2 seconds of time relative to this play ending before we begin to send the signal. Now, one more shot, and let's look at the end zone shot here as the players compete for possession of the ball, but the defender does come down with ball. He's still got his feet in bounds when he gains control of this ball, and I think that interception is the correct call here. And you know, there's some you can tell from this replay here, from this end zone shot here, back and forth slowly. The ball may move while the player's out of bounds. I don't know if there's enough inconclusive video evidence because of the quality and the lighting in this video that if we had high school replay that we could overturn this. So I think that interception is a correct call. But what I want to do is roll back to this signal here, and don't turn your back to these players that are in close proximity to one another and out of bounds to signal interception. Just continue to face them, and you can give the interception signal while you're facing them, and we still get what we need from that. And back judge is coming over to help, I know, but we don't want to turn our back to these players out of bounds. So correct call here, great positioning, good coverage on this play, and this is an interception, correctly officiated on this play. Let's wrap up this week's training tape with this play, and we get tricked on this one. This is a chop block, which we don't see a lot of. The nose guard here is just a monster. He ends up being in a double team here with the left guard and the center. And we call a chop block from the referee position, red flag. Okay, now we got 2 players who are not your keys. And we do call holding on these players frequently as the pocket collapses and the quarterback's trying to throw the ball. Or if we get a pulling guard, sometimes they'll be right in front of the referee. But this is not the referee's primary focus area, so I'd be really, really cautious with this. And I understand why we get tricked. But what happens is this nose guard just snatches the center to the ground, just manhandles him onto the ground. Then the guard, who is already engaged in this double team, just tries to drive him to the inside, and he ends up going over the center who's on the ground. So a chop block, high-low, low-high, anywhere, anytime on the field. But there's a difference between initiating contact with the player below the waist and a player just tripping over you when you're on the ground. important that before we make a call for a chop block, that we know both offensive players have initiated contact. And it wasn't the defensive player who initiated the contact, or these players are just stumbling on other players who are on the ground. So, referee, in this case, I like the focus and the recognition of a potential chop block here. It just shows great focus and concentration by the referee. But what I think you miss in this play and why you end up getting this play wrong is because I don't think you know how the center gets on the ground. You were probably either focused on the quarterback's action, reading the play, reading your tackles on the outside, or some other key in the play. So I think that you missed this element of how the center got on the ground. That's a critical piece. So what I would encourage you to do here on these types of plays is you got to talk to the umpire. Umpire, you've got to have a perspective as how your key got on the ground. And then you've got to engage the referee if you have information that will save him from an incorrect call. There's a reason we have 5 guys, although we need 7. There's a reason we have 5 guys. We've got to work and work together as a team. And also, you've got to understand, when you're calling a major penalty on someone other than your keys in the play, you have to engage that official. See if he has any information that will help you piece the play together, because ultimately, what we want to do is always get these plays correct. So many of the points that we make this week in the training video is about communication, working together as a team. Teamwork is the key to our success. And I use a phrase when I do pre-games with my crew. It's always how to be big when I'm small, and I promise I'll be big when you're small. And that just means help an official out of position, work together as a team, be a great crewmate. Understand communication. Sometimes you have information to give, and you've got a duty and an obligation to get in there and give it, especially when someone throws a flag on a key that you were covering and you were watching during the play. Communicate. Work together. Now, don't fish in another official's pond. If you don't have information, don't guess. Be concise and consistent and professional with your communication. One of the greatest compliments I get from the coaches or the athletic directors is when they call and say, hey, the crew this week, we had a couple of plays that we had some questions about, but boy, they were top-notch professionals. And that's really, really a great thing when I hear that about the work that you guys do. An email came out to this week about the expansion of the association for next year. And this is 7 years in a row that we've been able to expand. And you know what? That's really because of the hard work, the professionalism, the communication, the things that you guys do every week, week in and out, every play, every down of every game. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. It's a real privilege to work with you all and work every week to improve high school football, not only in Arkansas, but across the country. I think we'll have more news relative to expansion before the season's over. So communication is going to continue to be the key. Professionalism. We've got some really big games coming up. Conference titles on the line. And I want you to go out there and just continue to do your very best. Work hard each week to get better. The kids deserve it. The coaches deserve it. The fans deserve it. The game deserves it. For the Arkansas Association of High School Officials, this is Todd Allen saying, I hope to see you on the field real soon.